Streaming live from the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com. SoFloRadio.com presents CEOmanship, becoming a leader in today's business world, with your host, Steve Gordon, CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, an international business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit GordonPartnershipGroup.com. Gordon Partnership Group. Your success is our business. And now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Hello, George.
I just want to have it talking into the right microphone. That makes, for the first time this week. Oh, wait, it's Monday, so that's good. I'm on a roll.
Here we go again. As I like to say each week, it's another Monday. George.
And that's good news. Another Monday in South Florida, which is great.
It is.
And I know that you live, on the water, close to the water.
Yeah.
There, and it's just beautiful. I mean, I don't these days, but still, I got palm trees. I'm surrounded by the wonderful palm trees.
Yeah,
Our
but you're
symbol.
only minutes from the beach.
Mere minutes, absolutely.
So, it's not exactly
Long walk,
like
brisk
that
bike
stinks.
ride. No, I know it's over there. I know it's just right there. When I look east, I know I'm looking at the sky that's over the ocean. Speaking of that, similar theme. This is our new banner. In case you didn't notice that. So
I
Chris over
noticed
the studio.
last week that we were.
There was no
bannerless.
banner. Yeah, it was a banner went into the shop here, and I had to get new banner, and we had it grommeted, and I just really like to use that word.
I like that. Grommet is a good word. So, welcome. I'm
you.
Steve Gordon. I'm the CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, and this is CEOmanship on SoFlo Radio and SoFlo Television. And it is great to be back here in the studio in Hollywood, Florida. I love saying I'm in Hollywood.
Me too.
I always wanted to make it to Hollywood.
And being in Hollywood, they should pay me to promote Hollywood as much as I do. Not that they need the help, but secret's out.
Secret's out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start, posting my Instagram stuff with hashtag Hollywood.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they got that show down, Big Time in Hollywood, Florida. It's I think it's a Hulu original or something. Ben Stiller produced it.
Oh, well, that's
yeah.
probably
So
why
we're on the map now.
There we go.
Normally, all these stores would be gone by now. They're still here. It's okay.
I love pulling into the studio. And right before, at the corner up here by the train tracks, it says, "Welcome to Hollywood."
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Yeah, made it.
Love our little town.
Yeah, so anyway, so welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. Hey, this is really interesting, and I need to know if this is good, bad, or indifferent.
Okay.
So I need to tell everybody that we are going to be airing our live show now at noon on Mondays, with replays at 2 o'clock and 6 p.m. on
Yes.
Mondays.
Well, I think that's a good thing, personally.
I wasn't sure. Was I being replaced at 2 o'clock? Or
No, you're
because I guess I
you're
keep
being
it 2
upgraded.
o'clock.
You're getting moved to a better spot, or a continuation of the live programming, because you would be following the Nicole Sandler show, which is live, and so you have a good lead-in, as we say in radio.
Thank you, Nicole.
And so they'll hear the replay, so they don't have to worry about, hey, where's Steve at 2 o'clock? Normally I hear him. You will hear the show. It'll just be the replay of the noon show.
Right.
So if they want to crank call us,
then they got to do it.
you got
at
to
12.
move to noon, which would fit more people's schedule. You can crank call during lunchtime. You don't have to worry about getting yelled at.
And what
by
is
the
that
boss.
number, George?
That's 990-0036, 954-990. It's a by appointment only show.
It is by
Yeah,
appointment only.
prestige. It's not like the show that I do. It's just like we just talk to anybody.
Well,
No standards whatsoever.
Well, that I knew. That I knew. So don't forget, after the show, you can visit CEOmanship.com. That's CEOmanship.com. And you can download a copy of today's show or any of our archive shows. And now we're getting into the pages and pages and pages worth of shows.
And if they subscribe, it'll just be hitting a little earlier. It'll
That's
be
right.
in their
if you
inbox.
subscribe, right. If you subscribe, then you'll get a little message every time George uploads a show. That's
Right.
the benefit of having a producer right here.
Mere minutes.
I know,
Of course, it could be hundreds of minutes, but that's still minutes.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can also go to iTunes. You can go to the podcast library. That's my favorite.
And there you are.
And you can just subscribe, and the show just ends up right in your pod. Whatever that
Yeah,
means.
Dad.
Oh, God,
Straight to
here
your
we go.
pod.
So anyway, by the way, I just completed a new small book And
I saw that on Facebook.
Did you?
The small
download a
book
free
on
copy?
Facebook. No, I didn't. I'm waiting for the audiobook. That's my business. We
It's
do
not many
that.
pages,
We
George.
do that here. We have that's how one of our talk shows started. She was here recording an audiobook and just wouldn't leave. Yeah.
So thank you for going all the way through the project and not actually downloading. I was allowing my friends to actually download a copy of this book for free right off the bat. And the reason I'm doing that, because I know you're going like, come on, you're a business guy. Why are you letting him download it for free? Is, I would appreciate those of you who do get a copy of this. And how do you get a copy, George? You go to CEOistic.
CEOistic.
Right, as in
Just
CEOistic.com.
making up words all day long. aren't
Yes,
you?
all CEO related. So if you go to CEOistic.com, you can just watch a little funny cartoon that tells you how to fill in a form if you don't know how to do that. And then you'll get access immediately to my new book. And it's literally the one secret I use to earn millions of dollars. And I want you to have it at no cost to you.
Well, I'm going to download it and read it, and I'll tell you why, so I can use it as show material. 'Cause
That's good.
I'm not above doing that.
But the only thing I would ask is that when you benefit from using the book, I'd love for you to leave a comment maybe, or share it on your Facebook wall, or tell some people what you plan to use
Okay.
the book for. In other words, the material in the book, how you think it could benefit you and SoFlo Radio.
Okay.
Even if it is just fodder for.
I'll leave like the third comment that comes to my mind, because the first two are going to be obnoxious and sarcastic in that order. So that normally when I post comments, you're inviting me to leave comments. That's very dangerous.
I
should know.
Yeah,
you
but
should know better than this.
That's okay. That's all right.
Maybe I'll just write a positive comment, but I'll rhyme it just to stay
Whatever
in
you wanna do.
character.
That's fine. So, this is the part of the show where I usually say to you, what'd you do this weekend? And it's
bad.
never, ever, ever dull.
Well, it's normal. I don't know. I feel like I've been pretty dull lately. This week, it's a confession for your wife, Lori. I feel like she's my nutrition guardian angel, thanks to the care packages.
That would be
and I'm
simply Lori Gordon, Lori Gordon, GORDON.com. She is a certified holistic health counselor.
Yes. Translation is she makes good food that's good for you.
That would be the translation.
So thank you for stealing, stealing into the larder last week and getting me out. I don't know. I'm calling it the banana nut surprise that we
Something
got,
like
which
that,
is
yeah.
wonderful. And I've just been very healthy. I'm not calling it a kick. I'm not calling it a diet. I have become a healthier person in lifestyle, and I've been very good at it. And thanks to people like you and Lori giving me the little care packages like this turkey soup that you made today.
Not taking anything away from Lori, but as those of you who know or follow us online, you know that Lori is out of town. She decided to take off for 8 days. Now she's taking care of her father since her mom passed away, and she's spending time with him. And I felt really bad for you, George, because I thought, who's going to make you something healthy?
That's good. The
and
propaganda
start your week
worked.
off?
Right.
So I had a fresh turkey,
Really?
and
This isn't even leftovers.
No, this is the real deal. Like the real
That's
deal.
exciting. I'm excited about that.
I took all the vegetables. So there's all these organic vegetables. So there's this woman. Her name is Anne Marie Colvin. Right. And she started an unbelievable institute in Manhattan. It was I believe it was an organic cooking school. But correct me if I'm wrong, callers. Anyway, sadly, Anne Marie just passed away yesterday. But ironically, one of the things that she talked about was that the best way to get calcium in your diet is to actually take a chicken or a turkey, right?
Okay.
And you let that soup just boil and boil and cook and cook and cook until the bones become like dust.
Okay.
And she had
So like leaches all the calcium out of it.
right.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. So that's been cooking probably for about 18 hours, and I had a little taste, a little bowl before I came out here, and I have to tell you, it's really good.
Wonderful. Thank you. This is what I need on a Monday after the weekend of sin. I let some friends use my parking lot. That's what happened to me this weekend. For a party, I have a tiny place, but with a big lot, so people can park and just a lot of room for fire breathing or something.
Right? Don't you spin like the fireballs?
Yeah, and
and all
so
that
we just burned a lot of meat and drank a lot of beer and a lot of hot dogs and sausages and then went on for 2 days because they just left all this food behind. So we had to do round 2 on Sunday, and I just feel horrible. I mean, it was really fun at the time, but like most sin and vice, feel good at the time, but boy, you pay for it later on. Devil makes you pay.
Devil makes you pay. So there are probably people on the the computer, their cell phones, their smartphones, listening online, and they're saying, what does this have to do with business? And the answer is nothing today. It just doesn't.
You surprised me. I thought there was a tie-in.
No, they usually have a good
I
tie-in.
could tie that in.
But and I can tie that in one
Likewise
note.
in business.
But you know what? I recently ran a survey. You know, I'm putting together a brand new program. And by the way, for those of you who go to CEOistic.com and download my book, you will be privy to some of the information that is going to be in this new program. In fact, I'm just recording several new videos that are really great training videos. I believe they're going to help people really to grow their business. And one of the things that I did is I put together a questionnaire. And I asked people, in fact, I might have asked you, but I don't think you responded, but that's okay. Some of the things that concern them regarding business. And
Okay.
One of the things, believe it or not, even though we deal predominantly with an audience of business owners and CEOs and upper management, I got a lot of people asking about clever ways to secure employment, which made me think that some of these upper managers maybe are looking for something new, or also some of the people who filled out the survey may not have been strict listeners to the show, but followed me on some other things that I do. So the point is, when you are in a high level position, it's not always easy to replace that job if you should lose one. You know, it gets harder and harder. You get older, and that's a good thing, and you make more money, and that's a good thing. But then all of a sudden you lose that $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year job or whatever it is, and you're 45 or 50 or 55 years old, and you're going, uh-oh, how do I replace that income? Because I'm living in a house that's got a mortgage that basically relies on a $400,000 a year income, and I'm driving cars, and my kids are in private schools and private universities and so on and so forth. And we booked that cruise across the world for 300 days in 2016. They already got my deposit. What am I going to do? And then you start panicking because it's not easy to find those kinds of jobs. So I want to talk a little bit today about some of the things that you could do to make yourself stand out from the crowd, to better have a better opportunity to land that good job, so to say. And so I think the other thing that crossed my mind is, if you remember a couple of shows back, I was telling you about a friend of ours, really a very good friend of Lori's, who lost a job, and a very, six-figure job, and she, within days, replaced it at about a 20% increase. And I thought, wow, there's no soft economy where she lives.
Nice work. Yeah.
Right? Certainly not in her household. But, here's the other thing. People talk all the time. They go, there's 8%, 10%, 12% unemployment or whatever. But I always say, if you're single and you're out of work, well, in your household, there's 100% unemployment. And if you're married, and your spouse is working, you're still at 50%. So, the numbers are only that. They're just numbers, but they don't mean anything if you're the one looking for the job.
I tried to tell my ex-wife that when we were married, about how we were at 50%. Yeah.
Oh, were you working?
Yeah, I was working. She wasn't. She told me to shut up.
That's not one of my tips. So, it's interesting because when I started to do these surveys and I started to call people back and talk to them a little bit and ask them some questions, I was kind of flabbergasted that people weren't aware of what I would consider to be some very, very basic things when it comes to securing a job. For example, I spoke to one person recently, and that person had no idea that it would be appropriate, in fact, more than appropriate, to send a thank you note after an interview. So
very nice.
That's something we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So here's a couple of things that I wanted to share with our audience today in terms of what you can do to help yourself get hired and hired quickly, hopefully.
All right, good. These are good tips. I might need to get a job one day.
Here's not if I can help you.
Thank you, Steve.
So I guess they could donate to SoFlo Radio if they want.
The donate button is right there.
Donate button's right there. So here's the first thing. There are a lot of, obviously, online job portals. Indeed and Monster and Career Builder, Simply Hired, and others. All you have to do is Google, employment.
Does anyone actually use LinkedIn for that? Is that a thing?
You're jumping ahead.
I'm sorry. I just,
Yes,
okay.
they do.
Well, we can bookmark that for later, as long as you're going to get to it.
We will.
With
your permission, Mr. Producer.
Okay, yeah.
For our audience, you can tell we didn't have time today to go review the notes of the show.
Well, I like to be surprised during the show. I would have put my fingers in my ears.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If you go on to, let's just use, say, Indeed or Career Builder or Monster, one of those, right? And you type in, let's just say, sales, and they ask you for a zip code. So you put in, what's the zip code here in Hollywood?
33020.
33020.
Best zip code in Florida.
It's up there.
That's right. Yo.
So 33020. You'll get like a plethora of jobs, and not necessarily what you're looking for, and you're going to have to sort through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Now, that's the good news, but the bad news is that, it's going to waste a lot of your time. So all of these job boards have what we would call an advanced search option. And if you click the advanced search tab, I know that sounds basic to some of our listeners, it'll open up a whole new window, a whole new menu, where you can literally start to type in very, very targeted information. Some of the boards literally say you can choose by corporation, by area, how many miles from your home, salary requirements, keywords. And so you can filter through to find that job that you're really looking for, or at least those jobs that are available right now in your area that are relevant to you. Because time is money.
Right. Got it.
Okay. Well, that was interesting right there. So, George, you seem to be spacing on me a little bit today.
No, absolutely. There's nothing. I'm waiting for that LinkedIn thing.
Oh, okay.
Also, you used the word plethora. I love that word.
So, here's another thing. If you're going to go through this whole job search, one of the things that I would recommend to people is you don't want to apply to every job.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes when I have ads for clients, and it's really amazing to me. Sometimes I'll put, for example, I have a medical client that I've spoken about a couple of weeks ago as a potential sponsor here. And I was talking about that lab test that they do that helps to the doctors to better prescribe medications, right? So I'm helping that company to hire salespeople. And I'm very, very clear that it says in the advertisement, the listing on all the job boards, if you do not have experience in the healthcare sales arena, please do not reply to this ad. Because I'm only looking for that company for people who already know how to get into doctors' offices, have relationships, etc. Okay? Here's a great example. There is not a day, not one George Rodriguez, where I don't open my email and I get like 2, 3, 4, 5 resumes that it's so clear to me that the person never read the job description because
They're just responding automatically,
yes,
like a human bot.
Right. They're just going through and clicking and sending their resume to everything, hoping that something sticks.
Maybe they think you'll admire their gumption.
Maybe, but in this particular case, all it does is waste my time. And honestly, I don't even go through them. I look as soon as I don't see healthcare or pharmaceutical or something in that arena.
I imagine people just playing the law of averages, just sending things out like that.
Right. Here's the other thing. Don't stop applying for jobs. So let's say you're in the process, right? So you've applied for a job with the Acme Corporation, and maybe they've even gotten back to you and you've scheduled an interview.
Okay.
Keep your fishing rod in the water. You're keep going.
Okay.
Because you don't want to. Everything is about timing, right? And it's sort of a flow. And if you should, for some reason, not get that job with the Acme Corporation, you don't want to be starting at ground zero again, going, oh my gosh, now it's weeks again. So just keep applying, even if Acme is your first choice.
Sure.
Sometimes it's beyond your control.
And also, that's Murphy's Law maintenance. There is what I would call that, because if you're counting on that, if you depend on that, then Murphy's going to get you.
Right. And here's the other thing: wouldn't it be great that all of a sudden you found yourself in a position where you had 2 or 3 offers and you got to choose?
Yeah.
Or you could sort of leverage them against each other and say, well, Acme, I'd love to work here, and I've also got an offer from the Zippy company, And
Sure.
they've offered me the same position with a little bit more money, but my first choice would be you, Acme. And so you could use that to negotiate because you've got some strength now. You never want to negotiate from weakness.
What are the chances they think that you're making that up, or that's something that you're saying to bargain?
It's a roll of the dice. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't bluff in this job economy, but if you really had the other offer,
Could something like that backfire? It's like, oh, what are you bringing this up for? Get out of my office.
I think that could it backfire? Yeah, but if you have something else in your back pocket, then big deal. On the other hand, if you really want the job with Acme and they're offering you less money, but you think, for example, there's a better career path for you there, then eat the few dollars and see where you go. Think down the road, not just
I'm going to take him over.
Well, exactly. Next thing I would talk about is be very specific. In other words, when you send your resume, you're going to send a cover letter, a letter to the hiring professional, whether it's HR or it's a department head, etc. So what I would do is I would do my homework, and I would learn a little bit about that company, and I would be very, very specific in my cover letter because there's a couple things. Maybe the audience knows this, maybe some of you don't. Some of these automated systems, some of these companies that get hundreds, if not thousands of resumes, they have automatic systems that just, they're computers that pull out keywords, and they scan for certain things. Okay. And if those words aren't there, your resume never gets printed
So you get
out.
interviewed by the robot first.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Could happen.
Sure.
It's Big Brother 101. So that is true. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're applying for. Take an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or 2 hours and really think about what it is this company does and why you want this position and why they should want you. Because at the end of the day, it's not really as important why you want it as what you're going to do for them.
No, you got me thinking about how to schmooze the robot. What kind of, because you got to kind of, work everybody all the way through, like a receptionist and everything. It's like, what kind of font do you like there, Mr. Robot?
That's pretty funny. You actually jumped on me on another one. We're going to talk about that in a second. So be very specific with your cover letter. Also, if you're going to target your cover letter, make sure that you also have to take the time to target your resume. So again, look at what the job is. Look at the job description. Understand what this company is really looking for. And they'll tell you right in the job offering, it says, objectives. Then it'll say, this position you should expect to blah, 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 blah. And they're going to tell you what they want. And if you truly meet that criteria, make sure that you explain and tweak your resume so that it highlights your experience in a positive way towards those things that they're looking for.
Got it.
Okay. Wow, a lot of interaction today.
Oh, I thought I was talking too much, as a matter of fact.
No, that's fine.
You're delivering all this wonderful information here.
Okay, so here's another thing. I've gotten resumes, George. Sometimes they're like this thick. So maybe somebody's...
Mine's that thick. It's right there. It's a book. I have it bound.
I see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's got all my radio ratings and stuff. Letters of commendation,
that stuff
certificates,
is good for
newspaper
when you're
articles.
in the specific. I would say that you could bring that to the interview.
There's a cover page. That's the resume.
But I would tell you that when I get a resume, and there's a couple of things. I don't want to know, like, I hate to say it, but I don't want to read every job you've had since 1964. All right, if you've been changing every several years, and by the way, it doesn't always look very good.
Okay.
So what's important to me as certainly a first pass hiring agent for some of my clients, is I'm looking immediately for what this person's done in, say, the last job or two that correlates directly to the position we're offering.
Okay.
If I have to start digging back, that's probably not good either. If I'm hiring somebody with medical experience and they've been, selling automobiles, which is very admirable, it's just not medical. But right out of college 30 years ago, they worked as a receptionist in a pharmaceutical company. That's probably not what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for relevant experience right off the bat, and then I'm not looking to read pages and pages and pages of detail. It's just too much.
Okay.
All right. You don't need to put your entire life history.
I got pictures.
Well, you're a little different.
It's for getting a radio job. So it's a media kit actually.
It's a media kit, but as they say, you have a face for radio, right?
They do say that.
So why do you need pictures for radio?
It's the newspaper articles and awards and things like that.
See, again,
So,
I would go
visual
back
things.
and say to you, if there were certain awards, I would list those awards as a separate category on the bottom portion of my resume after I've gone through who you are and why you should match for the job. And I would definitely put highlight your awards. And if you have, in your case, you're going in and you have this award book that
it looks like a scrapbook.
Right. That's okay. Well, make sure it looks good.
I think it does.
Make it look
tidy.
professional. And then I would bring that to the interview for sure. Because you do want to have the opportunity to show all that stuff and let them know that you are who you say you are, because that gives you a huge leg up, so to say. But you don't want to, put a scrapbook's worth of awards. Just pick out the 3 or 4 that you think are really
The pretty ones.
well, or the ones that are most relevant to the job.
Sure.
See how we're going back to relevance over and over and over again?
No.
Okay. And again, so that ties into not having, your whole life there. You definitely can include more than just full-time work on your resume. So, for example, in this economy, a lot of really good people maybe have been out of work for a while, and you might not want to have your resume showing a gap of 2 to 3 years, right, of employment. But if during those 2 to 3 years you were doing something else, mission work, volunteer work, wrote a book, radio show, whatever, it's certainly relevant to put that on there so that it looks like you weren't just sitting around doing nothing for 2 years, because the odds are you probably weren't. And a potential employer wants to know that you're industrious enough and that you're certainly looking to get out there and do something. It's just not that you were sitting on the couch watching.
I spent a year
children.
sailing. That's why I wound up back in South Florida.
Say that again?
I spent a year sailing. That's how I wound up back here from Montana.
You sailed from Montana.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's a hard
sailing.
sell.
No, I came back to go sailing with my stepfather.
I thought there was going to be a boat from Cuba story here. I just
No. That was angels carried me.
Okay. Oh my goodness! I'm thinking, how do you get from Montana to Florida?
No, that's why I came back to go sailing, and so I didn't realize that what was happening is I was a free boat hand for a year on a sailboat, on my stepfather's sailboat. But
but that's
nevertheless,
that's life experience, and I'm sure that you stopped places along the way, and you did things, and you met people, and you had life experience is important.
Nah, we just sailed and.
Okay.
Okay, you better I can sail. I'm a seaman.
Here, leave that one alone. Here's another thing. It's really important that you dress. They say dress for success, but I would say to you, you want to dress like a manager or a successful person would dress in your industry. Okay.
Right.
So it's very interesting because down here in Florida, when I first came down, I don't know if I ever told you this story. I have a brother-in-law, very very successful guy, and when I first got down here, I was looking to go shake hands and possibly get some new clients. And so I put on a suit and a tie, and he looked at me and he said, "Steve, come here." And I said, "What?" He said, "Unless you're in certain professions down here in Florida, leave the tie, because it either makes you look like you're going to a funeral or you're desperate." And that really resonated with me, because I realized that there are quite a few people down here in certain, like the financial industry, legal industry, certain things where the tie is appropriate. But because of the way people are down here, because it's Florida, because it's hot, and because it's just sort of a lifestyle, you have to sort of blend in, and so out went the ties.
Well, my dilemma in trying to find a radio job is, applying that logic. If I wore what I would normally wear to a radio station, it would be pajamas, or what I would wear to the beach, because that's what the people on the air, that's what they wear. Joe Rose, is on television down here. When he would go to his radio job, it was whatever he woke up in. It was an early morning show, so you don't go to interviews in your pajamas.
Well, it's funny because when I used to do video conferencing with some business associates in Korea, because of the time change, I would be getting up at 2 or 3 in the morning to do these meetings, and I literally would crawl out of bed. I'd go to sleep for a few hours, crawl out of bed. I would put a button-down shirt and a tie. All right, this is like Confessions 101. And then I would just be in
your
shorts,
boxers,
underneath, because nobody could sit at the table, and I would just have my meeting. And
Neil did his radio show for years from his studio in Toronto in T-shirts and boxer. That's
too much information.
Yeah, that's fun.
So here's what I was about to say to you though. The reason that you want to dress as though you were already fit into that company, like everybody knows. For example, IBM sort of has a dress code. It might be unwritten, but everybody sort of understands, right? So you don't want to walk in looking different. You want to walk in looking like you fit the part. Because the sad reality is, while appearances shouldn't make a difference in an interview, they do. And sometimes interviewers make their decision in a matter of seconds.
Sure. So you should really hide that neck tattoo. Button that up.
Well, if you're applying for a job at a biker bar, then that probably would be okay. But if you're applying for a job somewhere else, you might consider just thinking about it.
Covering up that neck tattoo.
Just covering it up for a little bit. We're not saying anything judgmental about it. We're just simply saying, when in Rome.
Sure.
Because you got to remember, if you're being interviewed by like a 60-year-old, very, very conservative guy,
sure,
and you don't want to walk in looking like you just kind of came in
like you escaped from prison,
or I was going to say from a rave like the weekend before.
I should put the headdress.
Exactly.
At home. Well, companies have images.
And I think one more thing is be yourself. Don't try to be what you think they want you to be, because number one, you might not be really good at it, and number two, it's going to be obvious. Just be who you are, because they're going to hire that person. It's like lying on a first date. It's these people who put up pictures on dating sites from 10 years ago, and then they show up, and you're like, well, what were you thinking? Like, obviously, it's not the same person. So you started off on a bad foot, because if I were sitting there looking and I go, wait a minute, this person didn't tell the truth from the first second they started.
Sure. That's good for relationships. That's relationship advice there.
There you go.
You're going
to
paint yourself into a corner. Now you got to be that person.
There you go. I'm Steve Gordon. You're listening to CEOmanship. We'll be right back on SoFloRadio.com.
More CEOmanship with Steve Gordon next on SoFloRadio.com. SoFloRadio.com presents CEOmanship, becoming a leader in today's business world, with your host, Steve Gordon, CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, an international business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit GordonPartnershipGroup.com. Gordon Partnership Group. Your success is our business. And now, here's your host.
Put a team of professional consultants behind your home or business computer with Key Information Solutions, providing solutions to your internet and computing needs while keeping you on the cutting edge of technology. Preventative maintenance and networking support, hardware and custom-built computers. Let Key Information Solutions be your personal tech staff for your home or office with affordable hourly, monthly, or annual rates to fit anyone's budget. Call Key Information Solutions now, 954-973-3374. That's 954-973-3374. Or visit keyinformation.com.
Here's the latest ratings you asked for.
What is this? Where did all our listeners go?
SoFloRadio.com.
SoFlo, what channel is that on?
It's online, sir. It's Wi-Fi radio.
Oh, I see.
But what channel is it on?
Put your business on the leading edge of media advertising with the SoFloRadio.com network. Unlike antiquated AM or FM radio, your professionally produced 30 or 60-second ad will be heard live on SoFloRadio.com during the day and will be downloaded thousands of times a day on SoFloRadio.com, as well as being heard on our free podcasts on iTunes. Wi-Fi radio and Bluetooth are now available with BMW, Ford, GM Cars and Trucks. Don't get left behind. Contact SoFloRadio.com for details and our very affordable rates. SoFloRadio.com. Stay ahead of the game.
Now, back to CEOmanship with Steve Gordon on SoFloRadio.com.
So we've been talking about really creative ways to secure a great job.
Yes.
And
I've been taking notes.
Well, here's one that I know you'd be really good at. I have always taught people in the sales profession that stories sell.
Okay.
Right? Facts tell, but stories sell.
Ooh, did you make that up?
I don't know.
All right.
But since I don't know, I'll lay
Sure, why
claim
not?
to that one for now.
Until you get that letter.
And so it's important that you give people all the meat of situation. But I believe that if you want to engage an interviewer and make yourself a little less robotic and also make yourself less nervous, tell a story. In other words, if you're talking about you're sailing for a year, right? As now, what you want to do is turn around and go, well, what really made that pertinent to taking time off from work, was this. I got to whatever, and you can start to think of 3 or 4 things that are relevant to your career. I got to meet certain people that I never would have gotten to meet. I was able to go from city to city and work in radio stations, a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. I'm just making it up for you. But in other words, if something happened, maybe you were working in Maui, right, at a resort, and you're trying to get into the hospitality arena, and so you say, I took a year off and I was backpacking in Maui, and then I was able to do something, and I met somebody famous, Steven Tyler, who lives out in Maui, and I ended up working for him as like an assistant for a couple of weeks. And let me tell you a great story. Steven really loves, to go fishing, and I was able to hook him up with. I'm making all this up, and obviously not doing a good job because it's totally.
I'm wondering where this is going.
Well, where it's going is that if you can put a story to your facts of what you did.
Yeah, my story would be, it's like, because if they asked me what kind of experience I got from that, I would say how not to die on the ocean with a crazy person as the boat owner, which is maybe a valuable job skill to have. Insanity management, because that's on the high seas, because you're trapped on a boat with somebody and he's crazy.
And it could be then how to diffuse
Sure.
situations,
Yeah,
or how to avoid conflict. Right, so you take 365 days on a 32-foot sailboat with a crazy person, as you would say, and
screaming, "You crazy old man, you're going to kill us both." That's
there you go.
not a good job skill.
We talked about certain things being relevant not only to job hunting but also to life, and here's another one: you should never ever say anything bad about a previous employer.
Okay.
Even if there was something bad. And the reason is that you don't want this new person to feel like, you're going to start saying bad things about them someday. Plus, nobody wants to hire a negative person.
Right.
I see a big right. The
Well,
eyebrows went up for that
Napoleon Hill, and like stuff you already knew, but the more you hear it, the more it sinks in, because nobody wants to be around a negative person. Nobody wants to work with or for a negative person. It's counterproductive across
For sure.
the board.
Absolutely. So
And we all know that.
Even if so, let's say you had a bad experience at a corporation, you'd be much better off just saying, it just wasn't the right fit. Good company, just we weren't right for each other, and that's it.
Wow. Even if that was a lie.
Well, it's not really a lie if that's the truth. That
say
you weren't right for each other. It just wasn't.
You just said we weren't right for each other and leave out all the other stuff.
You could do that too. We talked earlier about sending a thank you note.
Yes.
Really
That's a
important.
good idea.
I
wrote that down.
often use. I have some software that I use that allows me to create letters that are custom, but I can put things in there like photographs and things like that. But when it comes to an interview, like I like to send cards, not emails. But when it comes to an interview, it's got to be handwritten. You can't do one of these card services for an interview, because it just shows that you took the time to sit down in your own pen, in your own handwriting, and to write a note. And
I feel very vindicated, because I just did that last weekend. Not this weekend, but last weekend. I didn't even think it was worth talking about.
So
I wrote
what
a
happened?
handwritten thank you note to the girl that worked at the roller rink at the snack bar. She saw my sad, sullen look on my face because I had forgotten my headphones, and the horrible DJ was there playing his horrible music, and she came up with her headphones. She said, "I just saw you sitting here so sad. I couldn't say," because I mentioned I forgot my headphones and my backup headphones, and I wrote her a nice thank you note and gave her a little gift card.
Well, that's nice too. I don't think that's a good idea
But
in an
it
interview.
was handwritten. No, the gift card, no, that looked like bribery.
Might. Although
graft.
I have to tell you that when Lori was interviewing, this is way before I knew her, but she tells me the story of how either right before or right after an interview, she sent. She'll probably call in if I'm butchering this, but she sent a one of those big cookies.
Okay. Ooh.
And it said "Hire Lori," basically.
Okay.
That was cute.
That's
and
not
she
too-
actually got the job. And it was a marketing job.
That's great.
So it showed creativity, and for that particular situation, that would be appropriate. A gift card would not have been appropriate, but certainly a handwritten thank you note is always appropriate. And just thank people for their time, and maybe recall one or two things that you talked about, so that it's very personal. It doesn't look like it's just one of these robotic. You wrote 50.
Nobody writes anymore. with
Nobody
these
writes
things.
anymore.
Yeah.
I know.
And I love writing in pens, nice stationery.
Yeah.
Now you got me wanting to go to the office supply store.
There you go. So here's another thing. Networking.
Okay.
This could be an entire show. In fact, I think I've probably tapped into this on other shows. And by the way, this is going to be part of a video that I'm doing in a few days that will be released to those of you who are VIPs. Subscribe to my mailing list on Gordon Partnership or CEOmanship, or just download the free book at CEOistic.com. Any of you will have access to all these new free videos. But the networking part is something I'm so passionate about. I want to teach an entire course on proper networking, because I have watched people do such a great job at these networking events, but I have watched people really butcher it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oof. And so, here, they always say you get one chance to make a first impression, right?
Right.
So do a good job. The reason that you go to networking events are severalfold. The first is you want to be around like-minded and similar people. I always say, whether you've heard me say this on 100 different shows. Well, maybe we haven't done 100 shows yet, but a lot of shows. Right? You've heard me say that you need to fish in the right pond. You need
Okay.
So technically, I always say, if you're sitting in your bathroom and you're holding a fishing rod and you drop the end of the hook into your bathtub, you could tell people you were fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could go down the street here to the beach and cast into the ocean, and you would be fishing. Now, in theory, you're fishing in both places, right?
Sure.
But the likelihood of catching a fish in your bathtub, unless you've stocked it with fish, but that wasn't part of my scenario, is that you're only going to catch fish in one place.
Sure.
Okay? So if you're networking for a job, and let's say you're in IT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're looking for like a VP of information technology job, I might look online for technology events. What's going on in my community? Are there networking meetings, breakfasts for other IT professionals? And then I would attend that. If you're there, you might very well be able to rub shoulders with somebody that might know of a position.
Okay.
All right. The objective of going is A, to put yourself in the right place. B, is to tell people what it is you're looking for. If you are in sales, if you are selling, say, financial products, or you're in network marketing or insurance, the objective of going to a networking meeting is not to sell your product. All right. And that's where I've watched people really ruin a reputation
It's
fast.
the first time I've heard that. So you don't sell.
No, you can't, because the idea is, if you come off like self-serving,
Okay.
people, the reason you go to network is that it's about sharing.
All right.
So the better way to network would be if you and I were sitting here over a cup of coffee. Maybe it's a break during some kind of IT event or whatever, or a radio event, and I'm looking for a station that I can be, my show can be broadcast on. I would say to you, George, tell me a little bit what you do. Oh, I own this radio station. Really, tell me more about it. I would ask you a lot of questions, because A, that puts you at ease. B, everybody likes talking about themselves. And C, the more information you give me, the more I can decide whether or not we can be of help to each other. So you might say, well, we're currently expanding and I'm looking for, certain shows in certain genres. So I might turn to you and say, George, that's really interesting, because I know somebody who does a show or has a business that might be interested in the show. I would like to maybe put the two of you together. In fact, if you want, I could just take out my cell phone right now and I could try to call Bob, and see if maybe he can chat with you for a second, and I'll let you guys talk. Now, I haven't asked you for anything.
Right.
But I have helped you to fill a need that you told me about, right? So now you're thinking, wow, see, I came to the networking event looking for something for myself, but you have to be a giver before you can be a taker.
All right.
Because nobody likes takers.
Yeah, that I can do that. It's the closing that I have trouble with. So if I don't have to sell, then pressure's off.
Well, it's true. So the next thing I would do is at some point you're going to say to me, well, Steve, what is it that you do? And I'm going to say, well, I have, in my case, maybe business consulting.
What don't I do?
Right. So I've got a business consulting firm, and I'm looking for, small and medium-sized businesses that are looking to increase their bottom line over the next 12 to 24 months. Maybe looking for sales training or just, to amp up the CEO in terms of, generating more sales and revenue, et cetera. And so I might then turn to you and say, do you have anybody that works with you at your radio station that you know of that fits the following criteria? And I'll ask you for it. A lot of these networking meetings also allow you to stand up and do like what they call a 30-second commercial.
Okay.
And again, your 30-second commercial should not be buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, because that will never happen, right? In fact, no one will want to talk to you. On the other hand, it should be, who you are, what you do, what you're looking for, or who you're looking for, and then who you are and how people can find you. So the who you are is twice.
Okay.
Right? You want to get it on both ends in case somebody missed you, right? So in this particular case, I could stand up and say, hi, I'm Steve Gordon, and I'm a business consultant, and I'm looking for a new client, and this is the perfect client for me. Again, my name is Steve Gordon. If you know anybody who fits that bill, I'd really appreciate the referral. And you can find me at steve@gordonpartnership or steve@ceomanship.com, right? And so very tight, because I don't want to waste my time either. But if one or two people in that room hear what I'm asking for and they come up to me and they go, you know what, I know somebody that might be able to help you out, that's all I want. When I go to a networking meeting, I typically go with the intent of making one, maybe two good contacts. And again, when I'm sitting in an event and the people are going around a table introducing themselves, I'm paying very strict attention to what people are saying. Because I want to know, sometimes they may not think that they have something that could benefit me, but I'm listening to what they say, and because they don't know me or my needs yet, and I can't tell them more than 30 seconds worth up front, I want to know. I kind of listen, and I hone in on those one or two people I want to introduce myself to. And I always, again, start with, how can I help you? How may I help you?
That's good. I like it.
There you go. So if you're looking for a job, tell people, I'm looking for a job, especially if they're in your industry. And you got to put it out there, because the majority of really good jobs come from referrals.
Well, who isn't in your industry? I mean, by definition, if they're in business,
Well,
because
right.
your business is business,
Right.
yes. And the same can be said for advertising. There isn't any business that can't utilize advertising.
That's right. So here's a couple more tips. Make sure you tighten up your references
Okay.
before you put them on your resume.
Does that mean
like
call your references up and make
yeah,
sure
you
they're
might
not going
want
to
to pick up the
trash you?
phone and
You're not going to trash me, are you?
just let people know that you would like to use them as a reference, and tell them this is the job I'm applying for. This is what they're looking for. I would really appreciate it if you would say a few kind words for me if they call you, and I'd appreciate it if they do call you, if you'd let me know,
Okay.
so that you're in further down the path of potentially being hired. And if somebody says no, then wow, okay, better
Yeah.
you know now than they.
Right.
So that's fine, and don't fudge your references, but do prime the pump, so to say.
Boy,
All
that
right?
could really, backfire on you, fudging your references.
Yeah, it could for sure. Here's another thing. It's okay to apply for the same job more than once.
Really?
Yeah. In other words, a lot of times you'll be looking online, right? And you see a job, you submit a resume, a cover letter, and maybe you never hear back.
Okay.
But a week later, that job is still there. Well, again, remember we talked about the screening robots? Or maybe just somebody who's at a lower level than HR that's maybe pre-screening the resumes?
Okay.
Write a new one. Send a new cover letter in. Try to think about maybe why
Sure.
yours didn't get picked. but it's certainly okay if you're interested. Give
That
it
makes
a shot,
sense. Sure.
right? Here's another one for everybody. It sounds like it would be mostly for men, but this is for the men and the ladies. Remember we said appearance is important?
Yes.
Well, don't let the little things slip under the radar.
Okay.
Polish your shoes.
Okay.
Spend a couple bucks if you don't have the ability to do it yourself. Go down the street, let the local shoe repair person polish your shoes and put a really nice shine on them. Why? Because it looks like you're buttoned up.
Sure.
And if you go ahead,
It looks like you care.
it looks like you care. And if you don't care, right? People are going to know that, and they're going to say, well, if he doesn't care about his shoes, or she doesn't care about her shoes, or his belt. I mean, guys, look, there's four things people look at. All right, your shoes, your belt, your tie, and your watch. Right. So if you wear a watch, put on a nice watch.
Just so you know, you and that camera is the reason I shave on a Monday. Otherwise, and before this show, I wasn't. Radio guys don't have to shave.
I know. Right.
That would be shiny for the Steve Gordon show.
There you go. Shiny for Steve. Hoo-ha. Here's another thing. Think about your answers. Like, we know there's probably certain things people are going to ask you. Tell me about yourself. What have you been doing over the last several years? Why do you think you'd be good for this position? What is it that made you decide to apply for this job, et cetera? So proper planning prepares you.
Do you think that it would be helpful to get someone to interview you, practice interview the way that actors have someone go?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you really go over my lines, go over the script.
Yeah, but it's a fine line between being yourself and being prepared. But certainly you want to practice. And if you really were at a high level and maybe you're going back for a second or third interview, I would do that. I would ask somebody who maybe knew the industry to sit down with me and role play a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to be taken by surprise about how you're going to answer certain questions.
By the way, I'm going to go a little out of order here.
That's allowed.
But I want to. I know it's radio. It's my show.
That's right.
Right.
You're the king.
I am. Well, I don't know if the king, but it is my show. So we talked about LinkedIn before.
Yes.
I don't want to forget that. That's why I look at the
Good,
clock.
because I wrote it down and put a star next to it.
And I know our listeners are
because I spend some time on there, and I'm wondering if it's a waste. Of my time.
It is not a waste, George Rodriguez.
Okay.
For a lot of reasons. If you're applying for a job, you see I'm getting passionate. I'm hitting
yes,
like this.
I
right?
see that.
Right? One of the things you want to
scary.
do is connect with people who work for that company.
Okay.
Or have worked for that company. Learn what you can. Start to understand culture. Read. Talk to people. Ask people.
Okay.
If you can call them. Talk to them for
they
sure.
like crochet at this company, eh? All right. They have a team.
But you want to know as much about the company. Get on their website. The other thing is that LinkedIn has job boards also.
Okay.
So I would definitely use the LinkedIn job board to search for appropriate positions if you're searching for a job. Okay. The other thing is start to look through your connections. Going through that advanced search option on LinkedIn, you can start to put in keywords, geography, location, etc. You might be surprised to find that maybe you don't have any first level connections. Those are the people you personally know that worked for that company or had any experience, relevance with that company. But if you start to search through, you might find a friend of a friend.
Okay.
And that's certainly appropriate to reach out to that friend of a friend and say, George, you and I don't know each other, but we're both friends with Lori Gordon, and I see that you worked for SoFlo Radio, and I'm applying for a position there. I was wondering if I could just maybe reach out to you for a couple minutes, maybe a quick phone call, just to ask you a few questions.
Well, that's a whole huge element if you actually know someone on the inside.
Well, of course, right? Yeah. So, but with technology today, that's the point. With things like LinkedIn, it is no longer 6 degrees of separation.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's probably like 3 or 4 degrees at most.
Sure.
It's crazy. I start to look at people. I don't even realize sometimes who somebody is on my LinkedIn, and I go, oh my gosh, they came from so-and-so. I didn't even realize that connection.
Well, I noticed that with Facebook and before that MySpace.
I knew you were going to say MySpace. You're the only person in the world that still talks about MySpace.
Well, I mean, because it all started there. I thought I had MySpace before Facebook. Didn't you? They made me get it at the radio station. They made me do a MySpace for promotional purposes. But the mystery friend phenomenon, as I call it, is you have all these friends in common with this person who you've never met. So they're out there.
Well, that's interesting. Here's another thing. You got to stay positive. All right. Remember we talked earlier about nobody wants to be around, a bummer type person, a negative person. And it can be very, very challenging during this process. You're going to have ups and downs, emotional highs and emotional lows. But I'm going to tell you that if you stay positive during this process, it will help you achieve your goal. And frankly, if you're staying positive, it'll appear that way when you're in your interview. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. Everybody is on time. Everybody's responsible. Everybody gets on well. I'm a people person, right? So if that's all you bring to the table during your interview, and people say, what makes you different or what makes you stand out, right? You're just blending in. Do things to stand out from the crowd. Maybe highlight some unique elements of your personal brand, so to say, and share those elements with the interviewer or on your resume. Again, this is all about separating the wheat from the chaff. You have got to put yourself in the leaderboard.
How much is too much? Like when they ask you a question, how much time should you spend answering it before you like? I always wonder, am I going on too long about this?
If you're wondering if you're going on too long, you probably are.
You are.
Yeah.
All right. But it should be
just
like
answer the question.
Three sentences, 30 seconds. I mean, you
you have to pay attention, right? So if I'm interviewing and you're the interviewer, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at your eyes, and I'm looking at your body language. If your body language, it's hard for the people in not watching, so I can't really do this non-visually. But if you're kind of slouching, or you're looking at your cell phone, or you're looking at your watch, or you kind of appear to be glazed, I'm talking too much.
All right.
If we're talking about a topic where you're looking right back at me, you're leaning in, you're very attentive, I'm keeping going.
All right.
Right. So you got to be aware. Look, you also want to sell like features and benefits. Right? You ask any salesperson, right? In a sales process, you say to a salesperson, what are features, what are benefits? A feature, right, in this particular interview case, is a fact about you. And so that could be experience or a skill or your educational background, right?
All right.
But a benefit is, why do I care?
Right.
Right? And so that part kind of requires a little bit of a thought and customizing your resume to each position so that it does stand out. Remember, facts tell, stories sell. Right?
I wrote that down.
So it's important. I want to share just a couple more thoughts. And one is, not every job is out there. So you have to sometimes create a need for what you bring to the table.
Okay.
Sometimes a company doesn't know they need you until you tell them why they need you.
I see.
Right? And I've personally done that on more than one occasion. I've sat down with a potential client and I've listened to their needs, and I've created a need of my own. Like, I've created a need of theirs, listening to what they're telling me, and then filled that need with what I could do.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they go, "Wow, you're the guy we need to hire." I go, "Really?" But
that takes some cleverness, though.
Well, it just takes paying attention.
Okay.
Right? It's all about listening. And whether you're in an interview, a pre-interview, at a networking event, look people in the eye, shake hands, listen to what they're saying. Because, people will tell you why they need you if you just spend enough time listening.
Okay.
I've learned that in the sales process over and over and over again. That people will give you all the reasons you need to be able to sell them if you don't try to force feed them what it is you think they need.
Okay.
And that's the difference between a salesperson and a sales professional. Salespeople just go blah, 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 and they repeat everything in their quote-unquote pitch book, and that's it. But professionals listen.
Okay.
And then they take what they hear and they regurgitate it back in a way that you now can tell why your company, your product, your service can fill their need. It's really not difficult. I'm telling you. It's no different for any kind of sale.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what
Selling
you're selling.
yourself.
Well, I was going to say that.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's good. George, it's been great. It's been another Monday. I can't believe
Wonderful.
time has flown.
It always does.
Please make sure you visit CEOmanship.com to watch past episodes. Get yourself a free copy of my new book while it's still available, because at a certain point, I'm taking the free copy away. And all I ask is that if you do read the book, that you do one thing. If you're going to utilize any of the techniques that I teach, and by the way, this is really good stuff. This is stuff that I used to literally build a multi-million-dollar business. It's the one most important thing that I learned how to do.
It's a short book.
It is a short book. And you know what? If you could read it in 15 minutes, but you'll probably read it several times.
Okay.
So go to CEOistic.com.
Any pictures?
CEOistic.com. Only the cover.
Okay.
No pictures. Sorry. And but there is, if you download it in PDF form, then you just get the book. But if you download it in an Apple iBook form, there's also a bonus audio.
Ooh.
Good thing you asked that question. So if you happen to have a Mac device, an iPad, etc., or a Mac or an iPhone, then download the and it tells you right there which you get to choose which one, PDF or the iBook.
Excellent.
But get the iBook, because then you get the bonus.
I'm going to get the iBook. I got a nap.
There you go. Anyway, I'm Steve Gordon, and it's been a pleasure to be with you. I'll be back next Monday on SoFloRadio.com.
You're listening to SoFloRadio.com.